Hello, Year 7 and Year 8. Thank you for deciding to give the second of these videos a watch. Thanks to those of you that sent me an email last week to say that you'd watched the first video and that you enjoyed it. So because of that, here we are again. And I'm just going to kind of get straight into it this time because I rambled far too much in the first video. So we've kind of done our explanation, we know what we're doing. I'm going to carry on with Stephen Fry's book because you know lots of you are interested, and I just think it links really nicely with what we've been doing in lessons anyway. So today then I want to read you a chapter called The Wedding Feast. So before we kind of dive in then I'll just kind of give you a little bit of background information because we skipped just ever so slightly from where we were last time. So so Zeus and Hera decide to have a wedding, have a double wedding actually, but they decide to get married. And I like to think, or I kind of, I think it's fair to say that it was probably Hera who pushed more for this wedding than Zeus, because Hera, she kind of strongly believed in kind of doing things properly in the proper order of things, and she just kind of wanted to solidify their relationship. I guess they could be seen as kind of the first power couple, if you were. And she knew that Zeus had a wandering eye for, other divine beings and later on, mortals. And she knew that he wasn't faithful just to her, but she kind of, if they were husband and wife, then it meant that their relationship was kind of formal and it was, there for everyone to see. And it also like solidified her place as queen, to sit on the throne beside Zeus on Mount Olympus. So, I like to think probably that Zeus is a little bit kind of, had his hand twisted. Hand twisted, is that the phrase? Yeah, we'll go with that. He he was convinced to have this wedding ceremony. Of course you would imagine the wedding of the king of the gods, and who was going to be the queen of the gods. It was going to be kind of a pretty spectacular event. So this myth then, the wedding feast, it is the myth around how honeybees came to function in the way that we understand them today, and I just think it's a really nice one, and this is one of my favourites from the book, so I just thought I'd share that with you. Of course, like I said last time, if you've got any questions or you want to know anything more, just get back in touch with me and I'll try my best to answer those questions for you. So the wedding feast, here we go. Again, sorry if I stumble and mumble. I still don't know how to edit the videos, but here we go, one take. Fresh invitations to the marriage of Zeus and Hera, hastily amended to include the wedding of Aphrodite and Hephaestus, because they were getting married at the same time. We've kind of skipped that bit. They were all sent out. All who were summoned to the double wedding accepted with excited pleasure. Such a thing had never been known in all creation. But then, creation had never known a goddess like Hera, with her great sense of propriety and intense feeling for order, ceremony, and familial honour. Nymphs of the trees, rivers, breezes, mountains, and ocean talked of nothing but the wedding for weeks. The wood spirits too, the lustful fauns as well as the tough barky dryads and hamadryads, made their way to Olympus from every forest, copse and spinney. In celebration of the nuptials, Zeus went so far as to pardon some of the Titans, not Atlas, of course, nor the long-exiled Cronus, but the least threatening and violent, were forgiven and allowed their freedom. To add zest to an already frenziedly anticipated occasion, Zeus issued a challenge. Whoever could devise the best and most original wedding dish could ask for any favour from him. The lesser immortals and animals went wild with excitement at this chance to shine. Mice, frogs, lizards, bears, beavers and birds all put together recipes to bring before Zeus and Hera. There were cakes, buns, biscuits, soups, eelskin terrines, porridges made of moss and mould. All things sweet, salty, bitter, sour and savoury were placed on small trestle tables for the king and queen of the gods to judge. But first the marriages took place. Aphrodite and Hephaestus were wed, then Hera and Zeus. The service was conducted with charming simplicity by Hestia, who anointed each of the four with aromatic oils, wafting perfumed smoke and singing in a low musical voice hymns to companionship, service and mutual respect. Family and guests looked on, many of them sniffling and blinking back tears. A faun, who made the tactless error of declaring between gulping sobs that Aphrodite and Hephaestus made a lovely couple, was given a swift and violent kick in the backside by a glowering Ares. That official business over, it was time to find the winner of the great culinary competition. Zeus and Hera walked slowly up and down, sniffing, tapping, prodding, tasting, sipping and licking their way round the entries like professional food critics. The competitors behind the trestle tables held their breath. When Zeus nodded approvingly at a wobbling hibiscus beetle and walnut jelly, its creator, a young heron called Margaret, gave a single shriek of excitement and fainted clean away. But hers was not the prize. The winner was the seemingly modest submission of a shy little creature named Melissa. She offered up for the gods a very small amphora filled almost to the top with a sticky, amber-coloured goo. "Ah, yes," said Zeus, dipping his finger in with a knowledgeable and approving nod. "Pine resin." But it was not pine resin in the little jar. It was something quite other. Something new. Something gloopy without being unduant, slow-moving without being stodgy, sweet without being cloying, and perfumed with a flavour that drove the senses wild with pleasure. Melissa's name for it was honey. It seemed to Hera that when she took a spoonful, the scent of the loveliest meadow flowers and mountain herbs danced and hummed inside her mouth. Zeus licked the back of the spoon and ummed with delight. Husband and wife glanced at each other and nodded. No more consultation was needed. The standard has been agreeably high this year," said Zeus. "Well done all, but Queen Hera and I are agreed. This, honey takes first place." The other creatures, trying to hide their disappointment, put on sporting expressions of pleasure as they formed a large semicircle and watched Melissa zip forward to claim her prize, a wish that was to be granted by the king of the gods himself. Melissa was very small and looked even smaller as she approached the winner's podium. She flew, for she could fly, despite looking as if she might be too bulky and bulgy in the wrong places to be able to, as close to Zeus's face as she dared, and buzzed to him these words. "Lord, I am pleased that you like my delicacy, but I must tell you it is quite extraordinarily hard to make. I have to zoom from flower to flower to collect the nectar deep inside. Only the smallest amount can be sucked up and carried. All day, for as long as Aether grants me light to see by, I must sip, search and return to the nest, sip, search and return to the nest, often travelling huge distances. Even then, at day's end, I will only have the tiniest possible fraction of nectar to convert, using my secret process, into the confection that has so pleased you. Just that little amphora you are holding took me 4.5 weeks to fill, so you can see that this is a most laborious business. The smell of honey is so intense, so ravishing and so irresistible that many come to raid my nest. They do it with impunity, for I am small and all I can do is buzz angrily at them and urge them to leave. Imagine, a whole week's work can be lost with just one swipe of a weasel's paw or one lick of a bear cub's tongue. Only, let me have a weapon, your majesty. You have equipped the scorpion, who makes no foodstuffs, with a deadly sting, while the snake, who does nothing but bask in the sun all day, you granted him a venomous bite. Give me, great Zeus, such a weapon, a fatal one, that will kill any who dare to steal my precious stock of honey." Zeus's eyebrows gathered in a dark and troubled frown. There was a rumbling in the sky, and black clouds began to bank and billow ahead. Above, The animals fidgeted, watching in alarm as the light dimmed and frets of wind flapped the festive tablecloths and ruffled the goddess's shimmering gowns. Zeus, like most busy and important beings, had no patience for fussiness and self-pity. This silly, flighty dot of a creature was demanding a mortal sting, was she? Well, he would show her. "Wretched insect," he thundered, "how dare you demand so monstrous a prize? A talent like yours should be shared out, not jealously hoarded. Not only shall I deny your request—" Melissa broke in with a high-pitched drone of displeasure. "But you gave your word!" There was a gasp from the whole assembly. Could she really have dared to interrupt Zeus and question his honour? "I beg your pardon, but I think you'll find that I proclaimed," growled the god with an icy self-restraint that was far more terrifying than any outburst of temper, "that the winner could ask for any favour. I made no promise that such request would be granted." Melissa's wings drooped in disappointment. "However," Zeus said, raising his hand, "from this moment forward, the gathering of your honey will be made easier by my decree that you shall not labour alone. You will be queen of a whole colony, a whole swarm of productive subjects. Furthermore, I shall grant you a fatal and painful sting." Melissa's wings pricked up perkily. "But," Zeus continued, "while it will bring a sharp pain to the one you sting, it is to you and your kind that it will bring death. So let it be." Another rumble of thunder and the sky began to clear. Immediately, Melissa felt a strange movement inside her. She looked down and saw that something long, thin and sharp like a lance was pushing its way out of the end of her abdomen. It was a sting, as finely pointed as a needle, but ending in a wicked and terrible barb. With a wild twitch, a buzz and a final droning wail, she flew away. Melis is still the Greek word for the honeybee, and it is true that its sting is a suicide weapon of last resort. If it should try to fly away after the barb has lodged in the pierced skin of its victim, a bee will tug out its own insides in the effort of freeing itself. The much less useful and diligent wasp has no such barb and can administer its sting as many times as it likes without danger to itself. But wasps, annoying as they are, never made selfish, hubristic demands of the gods. And there we go. I really like that one. I think it's a really interesting myth and kind of a nice explanation, I guess, or maybe not so for the poor honeybees. But I hope you enjoyed it, and if you've got any questions, just get back in touch with me, and I'll have another pop at one of these next week for you guys. Thank you.